Ready? This is it!
Yo, you already know it's Jojo, back with another video, and guess what? We hit 3,000 subscribers. I just want to thank each and every one of you for this achievement, as it does mean the world to me, and that even though I am very late on my content, I'm so grateful that you guys do enjoy it. As for this video, like the title suggests, I will be rating your hot takes that you all sent me under this TikTok post. I will be rating them from 1 out of 10, 1 being not so hot to 10 being the spiciest. Fair warning, if I didn't add yours, that is my bad, as there were a lot of them that I couldn't get to. I'd also like to give a shout out to my boys JTV3896 and Doji11th, as they gave the most takes in the comment section, and while I will not be including all of them, I will be putting a few in there. But without further ado, if you do like this video, be sure to like and subscribe and let me know if I should do a part 2. But with that being said, let's get started. Hunter x Hunter would have been the best new gen if it continued. Now, while I don't disagree that Hunter x Hunter would have been one of the best animes if it did continue, which it technically still is, I disagree that it would be the best new gen. As for one, it isn't considered a new gen, even though the title is kind of muddled at this point, as MHA and Black Clover are still considered new gen despite coming out in 2010s. But even then, we have to remember that Hunter x Hunter came out a full year before Naruto, being in 1998, while Naruto came out in 1999 with its remake anime coming out in 2016. So overall, I give this a 3 out of 10. Second take, JJK is the perfect starter anime. While I don't see anything made in this world as perfect, I would recommend anyone to watch Jujutsu Kaisen if they are trying to start anime, along with other animes such as My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. They all have great characters, the story is easy to follow, and they aren't too long. However, this isn't really that spicy of a take, so I'll just give it a 2 out of 10.
Silence, Wedge.
Next, Vinland Saga underrated. I'd say its second season is more underrated than the first, as a lot of people didn't like this part, seeing as this was much more of a laid back and not very action-packed season until the later half of the season. They also didn't like how Thorfinn was on the softer side compared to his first season's counterpart, but that's understandable seeing the context behind why he became more laid back. Overall, I'd say Vinland Saga is fairly rated, but again, this isn't really all that spicy, so I'm giving it a 3 out of 10.
Hey guys, we're black!
Next take, JJK best new gen. Now, for a while I have debated with myself which is better between My Hero Academia, JJK, and Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man kind of fell off in part 2. You could make the argument that the recent chapters of JJK literally shook the anime community for a few days with Gojo's death, compared to anything that's happened in MHA aside from spoilers, Bakugo's and All Might's supposed death. So I'd give this an overall 7.5 out of 10.
Next flex!
Luffy stronger than Naruto. Honestly, this is one of the most highly contentious and highly debated anime-manga matchups that I've ever seen in my life. Personally speaking, you could make an argument for either or, however, I would agree that Naruto has much more consistent scaling, as a lot of Luffy's feats can be debunked, but at the same time you could do the same thing for Naruto. And I don't want to turn this into a Luffy versus Naruto video, so overall I'm just going to say that, but give this a 9 out of 10. Next, Naruto is the best starter anime. As much as I love Naruto and it was my first ever anime that I watched, I wouldn't recommend it as a first anime for newbies in this generation, as this generation has a much shorter attention span and Naruto has a very slow pace. Not only that, there's 700 plus episodes in Naruto, and I don't think a lot of people would want to watch 700 plus episodes. There could be some people out there, but I would say watch something that's much shorter and has a faster pace. Overall, I'm giving this a 5 out of 10.
Let that nigga know!
Luffy is a better MC than Goku. Now, this is probably one of the spiciest takes that I've seen aside from Naruto versus Luffy. The issue with this is that Goku and Luffy in my mind are kind of similar in a sense, both being very easygoing, not so smart, and strong characters who love to eat and fight. They also have arguably the baddest bitch in the show, but you didn't hear that from me. Where they differ is in their goals, in which Goku's goal is to become stronger and fight strong people. However, this does change to wanting to train the next generation, which we see during the Cell Saga and the end of Z, whereas Luffy's goal is to become the Pirate King and finding the One Piece, in which you could argue that Luffy's goal is much better than Goku's, as it does have an end to it. The last thing you can compare is how they're both written, and if we're talking Luffy versus Super Goku, then I'd give it to Luffy, but if it's Z Goku, then I can't decide. Overall, I give this a 9 out of 10.
You're hopelessly stupid.
Next, AOT top 1 goated anime. If we're talking official rankings, then yes, AOT is number 1, even outdoing Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which was the highest rated anime for years. But if we're talking subjectively, for me personally, I have AOT in the top 20, but that's just me. 5 out of 10. Next, Ichigo solos the DBZ verse. I'll try to make this quick as I don't want to turn this into a power scaling video. I personally have Ichigo anywhere from Galaxy to Universal, but there are multiversal metas for Ichigo and Bleach in general, and depending on how you scale DBZ, since he specified that it was DBZ, you can scale them the same, so it all depends on where you scale each, so I'd give this a 6 out of 10.
Fuck dignity and fuck honor.
This next one is multiple in one comment. Black Clover fell off. Chainsaw Man Part 1 is better than Part 2, but Asa and Yoru are incredibly better than Denji and Pochita. Starting off with Black Clover, I am caught up with the manga, and me personally, I'd say it only got better. It just sucks to hear people still spouting out copy Clover or Black Clover copy Naruto when the literal author stated that it was inspired by Bleach. Well, I'm off topic, but if you personally think that Black Clover fell off, that's cool. I personally don't agree with it. Moving on, Chainsaw Man, I definitely agree with this take. Part 1 is way more consistent and faster paced than Part 2, and is still recognizable in my mind compared to Part 2, as Part 2 is much more slower paced. And while I do think that Denji is a better main character than Asa and Yoru as a duo is better than Denji and Pochita, as Pochita himself isn't really in the story for majority of it, although that is because of his sacrifice. But Asa and Yoru remind me of Geostellar and Omegasis from Mega Man Star Force, both initially not liking each other but eventually growing to like each other because they have benefits, and then slowly growing into a closer relationship. So for the Black Clover take, I'd give it a 5 out of 10, and Chainsaw Man, I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
He tried it.
Next, JJK and MHA are undeniably the best new gens out there right now, both being absolute tyrants. This isn't really all that hot of a take, especially for JJK, with Gojo's supposed death legit shaking the entire anime community, not just for manga readers but anime onlys who had to find out because of spoilers, to even having a star named after Gojo and even a memorial in his image. My Hero Academia, while not having the same hype and the weird ass fan base, the biggest moment being Bakugo's supposed death and definitely Deku's vigilante arc. Don't even get me started on the Deku the vigilante trend that was going on for a while. That still has me laughing to this day, with both of them being the two titans. Black Clover not really getting that much hype and instead getting much more hate because of the character seeming not dying, so the stakes aren't as high, and not to mention the whole Disney Clover thing. With Chainsaw Man Part 2, like I said before, being much more slower paced than Part 1, a lot of people aren't really hyped for it as much, so overall I'd give this a 6 out of 10. Next, Hell's Paradise is just blatantly mid. A dark seinen big 3 is cringy. I would have to disagree with this, as I actually find Hell's Paradise to be very underrated, as not much people were giving it a much hype despite it being animated by Studio Mappa and all that. And while the power system is kind of bland, I do like how each character gets their time to shine. As for the last part, I don't necessarily agree or disagree since I don't read seinen that much, so overall 5 out of 10.
Execute!
Next, aside from Overlord, Tanya, Konosuba, and SAO, most isekais are garbage. While I haven't finished Overlord or Tanya the Evil and SAO falling off for me after season 1, I agree with this, as most isekais follow a formula of the most bland character design, getting transported into a new world, or either through reincarnation or as their original selves in a new world, becoming stupidly OP in the verse, and then getting a harem of women, rinse and repeat, while also having a long ass title. Overall 7 out of 10. Next, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure verse is overrated in story and strength. The stand power system is trash, but some stands are cool. Now this one is actually kind of hot, not gonna lie, as I haven't seen many people say that they don't like the story, more so they just complain about the art style, in which I was one of them at some point. Now as for the story being overrated, I want to know if this is the entirety of JoJo's or a specific part. As for strength, I can agree with this. Keep in mind, I've only watched up to part 6 and haven't even finished it, so anything past part 6 is not part of my knowledge, but the most overrated has to be GER. The argument could be made that he has infinite speed. In terms of attack potency, I'd say he's around building level. Again, I'm not going to explain for now, but in the future I will, as I do have a video planned for it. And as for the last point, some of them do suck, but others are pretty busted if used correctly, so overall I'd give this an 8 out of 10.
Come on!
Next, 1000 Year Blood War negs most shows out right now in terms of plot, development, and of course animation. I can't say much on this as I haven't been watching it, so I won't rank it. Instead, you guys can comment what you think about this take in the comments below as a form of question of the day. Also, thanks for watching this far into the video, it means a lot.
You're gonna lose it all!
Next, Vegeta trains harder than Goku. I feel like this could be either a hot take or not so very hot, as to me it depends on what you mean by the term harder. Whether it mean like the character constantly pushing their bodies in higher gravity, which Vegeta does in base form, while Goku tends to train with specific masters and gain more techniques, yet still rivals Vegeta in power. Or if you just mean like in general he just trains more, in which I would say that's not the case, as we've seen Goku use weighted training, even going into the time chamber a few times, and even working on his overall stamina in Super Saiyan in the Cell games. So if we're talking intensity, I can get down with that, which is the first one. But if we're talking about overall training, I'd say Goku does train more, as Vegeta had a later start since he had a higher battle power than Goku. So overall I'd give this a 7.5 out of 10. Next, Bleach and JJK have a more intricate power system than 90% of anime manga. I agree, and would also add in Hunter x Hunter in there. The thing about these power systems is that they make each character unique in their own way, and to me eliminates the possibility of copying another person's technique unless your name is Yutsa. Meanwhile, other anime manga have like a power system where all techniques are available and nobody really has their own thing unless they choose so. But I would agree that most people would say this, but for me personally I give this an 8 out of 10. Next, complicated power systems don't equal good, it's asked. This is actually pretty fair, as if the watcher or reader isn't capable of understanding the power system, then the idea of how the character beat the other is lost on them. However, making it too simple would make it not unique or interesting at all. So overall a 6.5 out of 10. Next, Gojo is better written than Naruto. In terms of enjoyment, I would definitely give it to Gojo, no questions asked. As for better written overall, I'm not so sure, as Gojo I wouldn't say is not better written or not well written. However, I can't say that when majority of the story or the story arcs that would matter, he's not in it all the time. Meanwhile, Naruto being the protagonist, we see more of him and we see his growth. So for right now, I can't choose between either, but that's not to say that either wouldn't get the point. But overall, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10.
You ever just wanna fuck an anime bitch?
Next, Arceus solos the big three, Goku and Rimuru at the same time. Alright, this is going to be the last power scaling Wiles take I'm going to do. With Arceus now, for me, I wouldn't say he solos all of them, most definitely the big three, maybe aside of Bleach if you take the multiversal meta for them. Arceus scales above the creation trio, which make up space and time respectively, as well as making infinite universes, which would make Arceus low complex multiversal with infinite speed. I could be missing some feats as I don't scale the Pokemon universe yet, but that's where I have him, which would put him lower than both Goku and Rimuru, with Rimuru being scaled to hyperversal to outer in the light novels and the manga, I think, with Goku being considered to be scaling anywhere from multiversal to outerversal. If you want an explanation, go check out my buddy Drip Sauce for his scale. Overall, I would give this an 8 out of 10. I want to be a low complex multiversal threat, but when my Ultra Ball hits you and you call it, you My Little Pony bitch.
Delete this shit!
Next, Ano says the definition of just because you're insanely powerful doesn't make you or your anime good. While I wouldn't say he's the definition of this, as there are a plethora of anime that could possibly fall under this, I will agree that I couldn't get into the series as it was recommended to me by a friend that I'm no longer in contact with. I dropped it because I was bored. However, he do be solo in verses, so 9 out of 10. Next, Studio Trigger animes are underrated and deserve more recognition, and Mob Psycho 100 and Chainsaw Man are the best new gens. I disagree that Studio Trigger has underrated anime. If anything, I think they're fairly rated, just that since they're so short and the story can't go anywhere else, there's nothing left to talk about aside from this show was fire and had some standout moments. As for the second part, in terms of the anime community, we have to really define what the new gen term actually means, and if somebody does have a video explaining what that is, then be sure to tag me in it. However, I do love Mob Psycho 100 and Chainsaw Man, definitely some top tier anime, 6 out of 10 overall.
Yeah, baby. I can't wait to use this thing.
Next, Light is an annoying MC. Yeah, this is probably a very, very hot take, yet unpopular for good reason, as if we're referring to Light Yagami as I think you are, I heavily disagree, as I think that Light is a very good MC, being a very good manipulator, and the evil side of the show, for the protagonist at least, is something that I've never seen before and would actually like to see more in other animes. But all in all, I'd give this a 9 out of 10.
Can't escape the law, pal.
Next, should be obvious, but there is no GOAT anime. It's all subjective and opinionated unless I see statistics. I mean, to be fair, those statistics are opinionated, to be honest, and are rigged. But if you are looking for statistics, there are manga sales and anime websites, so this obviously gets debunked. So overall, 2 out of 10.
You like trains? We finna get you one!
Next, Yusuke Urameshi is the only anime MC that talk trash and can back up what he said. Now, I haven't seen every anime, so I can't say this with all certainty, but I do agree with all the anime that I have watched that Yusuke is probably the only one that will shit talk you and then proceed to beat your ass unless you're very strong, in which he either needs an emotional moment or power up to get there, which still ends up in a high diff fight, but details, 7 out of 10.
How am I supposed to know when he's gone?
Next, Super Saiyan God over Super Saiyan Blue, Bleach over Naruto, which is over One Piece. FF is the strongest new gen. Like I said, for the Arceus, I'm gonna skip the power scaling side. Even if I didn't, I most likely haven't watched this FF anime that you're talking about, so sorry. Now going on to the first few takes, Super Saiyan God over Super Saiyan Blue. In terms of design, then sure, even though it's base form, but with the palette swap, I like the fact that Super Saiyan God is much less bulky and much more slim than base. Meanwhile, Super Saiyan Blue is literally just a palette swap of Super Saiyan. And I like the fact that in the Broly movie, they made Super Saiyan God to be more of a defensive-oriented form compared to Super Saiyan Blue's sheer power output, which is something I feel like most transformations in Dragon Ball should do going forward, but that's just my opinion. As for the last one, One Piece, for me, is at the top. Next will be a battle between Bleach and Naruto as they flip-flop depending on how I feel that day. But for right now, I'd say One Piece, then Naruto, and then Bleach. Overall, I give this a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, so future Jojo stepping in. FF turns out to be Fire Force. I was too stupid to realize that, so overall I agree.
You hear this music?
Next, One Piece anime dialogue, pacing, and anime in general over Naruto's, especially OG, but Naruto manga is the best in the big three. Now, as a One Piece fan, I find the pacing sometimes in One Piece to be downright atrocious and gets boring. As for dialogue, I watched One Piece in dub, so the dialogue might possibly be different from the Japanese, so I can't really agree nor disagree in terms of this fact. However, the anime I do enjoy over the Naruto anime, so overall I give this a 7 out of 10.
Holy fucking shit!
Next, you shouldn't talk bad about a show if you didn't even watch it. Plus, if you judge a show before you watch it, then your opinion on it doesn't matter. Clip watchers, Dragon Ball haters, but this isn't really that hot of a take, but it should be a take that every anime fan should stand by, as I've seen a whole bunch of people talk bad about a show or have specific problems with the show that end up getting fixed on later on in the series, aka Dragon Ball. A lot of people say that Goku has no character development, yet completely skips over Dragon Ball, the original series, and it's just like, bro, you have obviously no idea what you're talking about because you're skipping around and you're just watching clips. But overall, I would say that this gets a 3 out of 10, but just because it's a 3 out of 10 doesn't mean that it should be abided by. Last take of the video, the Naruto series should have ended with the Boruto movie. Yet another take that I don't find all particularly hot, as I'm pretty sure a lot of people know how Boruto, the series, was ruined because of the anime with its absurd level of inconsistent animation and filler, while you have Boruto fans yelling out, just wait for the time skip and don't switch up. However, that's just for the anime, as the manga, at least from my experience, is way better, so I'd suggest you read it rather than watch it. And when those episodes do get animated, then you can watch it, but other than that, I see no point in watching the anime as there's too much filler, and even in that filler, it's not even entertaining. So overall, 5 out of 10. Jeez, this video was long as hell, but at least I got it done, and I'm not even sure how long it is post-editing, as right now it looks like 20 minutes, but it is what it is. Anyways, if you guys do like this video and want to see a part 2, let me know in the comments below and comment your hottest takes ever. And once again, I'd like to thank all of you for 3,000 subs to 3K and beyond. But with that being said, I've been Jojo, and I'll catch you later.
Nah, dude, fuck all that. This video took way too long to the point where I hit 4K, so to 4K and beyond.